Love, a word that has inspired poetry, shaped history, and driven people to the greatest heights of joy and the deepest pits of sorrow. It has built empires and destroyed them. It has given meaning to existence and, at times, made life unbearable. We spend our lives searching for love, believing it to be the ultimate source of happiness. But for all its beauty, love remains one of the most misunderstood emotions in human existence. Some say love is born from attraction, beauty, intelligence, charm, or even destiny. They believe that love strikes like lightning, unpredictable and uncontrollable, that when the right person comes along, we simply fall. But is love truly random? Or is there something much deeper, something hidden within us, that determines why we love one person and not another? The hidden truth about love. In Zen and Buddhist teachings, love is not about the other person, it is a reflection. A mirror. The way someone feels about you is not about you at all. It is about them. In reality, people do not fall in love with another person. They fall in love with what they see in them. And there are only two reasons why. 1. They seek what they lack. 2. They recognize what they already are. A person who feels incomplete will search for wholeness in another. Someone who does not love themselves will seek love in another. And those who see their own nature reflected in someone else will be drawn like water flowing toward the ocean. But what does this mean for us? If love is not about the other person but about the self, how can we recognize whether the love we receive is real or fleeting? How can we tell if someone loves us for who we are, or simply for what they need? To uncover this truth, let us enter a story of a silent monk, a wandering seeker, and two great lessons about love. A story that will change the way you see love forever. The story of the silent monk and the seeker of love. In a distant land, there lived a silent monk. He was known not by name but by presence. He neither chased love nor avoided it, he simply was. One day, as he rested beneath a great tree, a troubled man approached him. His eyes were heavy with sorrow, and his heart carried the weight of many heartbreaks. "Master," the seeker asked, "why do people fall in love with some and not others? And why do I always lose the ones I love?" The monk closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to a wisdom beyond words. Then, he opened them and spoke. "Love is not about the one you love," he said. "It is about the one who loves." The seeker frowned. "I do not understand. If love is not about the beloved, then what is it about?" Without answering, the monk picked up a bowl of water from a nearby stream and held it before the seeker. "Look into the water," the monk said. The seeker peered into the bowl. "I see my own reflection." "And what if the water was muddy?" the monk asked, stirring the surface with his finger. "I would see nothing," the seeker replied, watching the ripples distort his image. The monk nodded. "That is love. When someone loves you, they do not see you, they see themselves in you. If the water is clear, they recognize themselves. If the water is muddy, they project their desires onto you. Love is not given, it is reflected." The seeker remained silent, absorbing the meaning of these words. After a moment, he asked, "Then why do people fall in love?" The monk smiled, his eyes filled with knowing. "For two reasons. Either they seek what they lack, or they recognize what they already are." The seeker's brow furrowed. "How can I know which love is real?" The monk gestured toward the wind rustling through the trees. "Do you feel the wind?" "Yes," the seeker replied. "Can you hold it?" The seeker stretched out his hands. But of course, the wind slipped through his fingers. "Love is the same," the monk continued. "When someone loves you because they lack something, their love is like trying to hold the wind. It will escape the moment they no longer feel empty. But when someone loves you because they see themselves in you, their love is like the tree and the sun, it grows naturally, without force or expectation." The seeker's heart felt heavier and lighter all at once. He had spent his life searching for love, believing that if he could only be enough, good enough, attractive enough, successful enough, then love would stay. But now, he realized that love was never about him. It was about the ones who loved him, about what they saw when they looked at him. Determined to understand this truth more deeply, the seeker set off on a journey to find the meaning of these words. He would meet those who had loved and lost, those who had found love that endured, and those who still searched. Only then would he truly grasp the nature of love. Seeking what is missing, the love of lack. The seeker traveled to a distant town where he met a woman known for her beauty and intelligence. Many had loved her, yet she always felt alone. One evening, as they sat by a river, she sighed. "Why do people love me?" she asked. "But I feel empty inside?" The seeker recalled the monk's words. "Perhaps they love you not for who you are, but for what they lack." She turned to him, confused. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the flowing river. "This river flows because the land is empty. People who feel empty inside search for someone to complete them, just as dry land seeks water." She lowered her gaze. "Are you saying that the love I have received was never real?" The seeker smiled gently. "It was real, to them. But it was never about you. They loved you because they saw in you something they lacked: beauty, confidence, or peace. But the moment they no longer feel that emptiness, their love fades." She looked away, watching the river ripple under the moonlight. "But they seemed so sincere," she whispered. "They swore their love was real." The seeker picked up a stone and dropped it into the water. The ripples spread outward, distorting the reflection of the moon. "Love that is based on lack," he said, "is like these ripples. It begins with great intensity, spreading outward, but eventually, it settles and disappears." The woman's voice grew softer. "Then love is only temporary?" The seeker shook his head. "No, love based on lack is temporary. It is like borrowing warmth from the sun when night falls. The warmth disappears." She wrapped her arms around herself as if suddenly cold. "But what if I too have only loved because I needed something? What if I have never truly loved anyone?" The seeker nodded, as if he had been waiting for her to ask this. "Then you have only ever borrowed love, never possessed it." The woman sighed. "Then how do I find real love?" The seeker looked at her with kindness. "You must first be whole within yourself. If you are empty, you will always attract those who seek to fill their own emptiness. If you are lost, you will always find those who seek direction. But if you are complete, if you do not need love, yet welcome it, you will find those who love not because they lack, but because they recognize something true within you." She was silent for a long time, watching the river flow endlessly toward the horizon. "Then what is the second reason people fall in love?" she finally asked. The seeker stood and dusted off his robe. "To find the answer," he said, "we must seek those whose love did not fade." And with that, they continued their journey, recognizing the self, the love that lasts. The seeker continued his journey and met an old man who had been married for 50 years. His wife had passed away, yet he still spoke of her with deep love in his voice. "Why did you love her for so long?" the seeker asked. The old man smiled. "Because she was me, and I was her." The seeker was intrigued. "How is that possible?" The old man pointed to a tree standing tall in his garden. "Do you see this tree? It does not seek the sun, it simply grows toward it. My love was not about needing her. It was about recognizing myself in her. She was not filling a void within me. She was my reflection." The seeker looked at the tree, watching its branches stretch effortlessly toward the sky. "But many people claim they have found their other half, yet their love does not last. How is your love different?" The old man chuckled, his eyes gleaming with wisdom. "Most people do not fall in love with another. They fall in love with what they need. But love that lasts is love that recognizes. When I met my wife, I did not feel an urgent need to hold on to her, nor did she feel the need to complete me. We simply knew we were already whole. And together, we grew." The seeker thought for a moment. "Then how does one know if their love is true?" The old man knelt and touched the soil beneath the tree. "This tree does not rush toward the sky, nor does it beg the sun to shine upon it. Yet, every day, the sun rises, and the tree continues to grow. That was our love. We did not chase after each other in desperation, nor did we fear losing one another. We simply shared a light that was already within us. And because of that, our love did not fade, it became stronger with time." The seeker's heart felt lighter. "So love that lasts is love that recognizes itself?" The old man nodded. "Yes, when someone loves you because they lack something, their love is fleeting. But when they love you because they see themselves in you, their love is eternal." The seeker gazed at the tree once more, feeling a quiet revelation settle within him. Love, real love, was not about longing, nor about filling an absence. It was about seeing oneself reflected in another and choosing to grow together without expectation, without possession, and without fear. And for the first time, he understood what the silent monk had meant. The truth of love and what you must do. The seeker returned to the silent monk and shared what he had learned. "Master, I have seen both kinds of love. What should one do with this knowledge?" The monk smiled, his expression serene yet knowing. "Do not chase love. Let it reveal itself. If someone loves you because they lack something, they will leave when they no longer need it. But if someone loves you because they see themselves in you, that love will remain, even in silence." The seeker bowed. "So, the secret is not to seek love, but to be whole within oneself?" The monk nodded. "Be as the moon. It does not beg for attention, yet its light touches all who gaze upon it." The seeker absorbed these words, letting them settle in his heart like ripples in still water. But after a moment, he raised his eyes again. "Master, if one should not seek love, then what should they do instead?" The monk gestured toward the vast sky above them. "What does the sky do to keep the stars shining?" The seeker frowned. "Nothing. The stars shine on their own." The monk nodded. "And so it is with love. You do not make love happen. You do not force someone to stay. You do not demand to be loved. Instead, you become complete within yourself. And in doing so, you allow love to appear in its truest form." "But how does one become whole?" the seeker asked. The monk picked up a small pebble and dropped it into the water beside them. The surface trembled, then slowly became still again. "First, silence the noise within," he said. "If you are restless, if you are searching for something to complete you, you will always attract those who are also incomplete. But when your heart is at peace, when you are whole by yourself, you will naturally draw those who do not need you but choose to walk beside you." The seeker listened carefully, feeling the weight of his past desires lift. "But, Master, does this mean love is only for those who have already found themselves?" The monk chuckled. "No, love is for all beings. But those who are whole experience it differently. When an incomplete person loves, they cling. They fear losing the one they love. They try to possess them, to shape them into what they need. But when a whole person loves, they do not grasp. They simply allow love to exist, to grow, to breathe. Their love is like the sun, it shines without expectation." The seeker sat in deep thought. He had spent his life chasing love, searching for someone to make him feel worthy, complete, seen. Now, he realized why love had always slipped through his fingers. What if someone has spent their life seeking love in the wrong way? He asked. What if they have only ever known the love of lack? The monk's gaze softened. Then they must begin again. To love differently, one must first love themselves. They must fill their own emptiness, understand their own worth, and embrace solitude as a friend rather than a burden. Only then will the right kind of love find them. The seeker let these words sink in. For so long, he had feared being alone. But now, he saw solitude not as a void, but as a foundation. "Master," he said finally, "then love is not about finding someone, it is about becoming someone." The monk smiled. "Exactly. Become the kind of person who does not need love but welcomes it. And when love comes, you will know whether it is real or fleeting." The seeker took a deep breath. He felt lighter, as if a great burden had been lifted. He had spent his life searching for love, yet he now realized he had been searching for himself. He stood, ready to walk a new path, not as someone who was searching, but as someone who simply was. And in that moment, he understood the greatest lesson of all. Love is not found, it is revealed in those who no longer seek it. The story of the seeker, the silent monk, the sorrowful woman, and the old man is not just a tale, it is a reflection of our own relationships. Their journey is our journey. Their questions are our questions. We have all searched for love, longed for its warmth, and feared its loss. But now, we understand a deeper truth. Love based on lack is fleeting. When someone loves us because they need something, be it validation, comfort, or purpose, that love is temporary. The moment their emptiness is filled, their love disappears like a shadow at dawn. Love based on recognition is eternal. When two souls see themselves in each other, not out of need, but out of truth, love does not fade. It deepens. It endures. It becomes as natural as the sun rising each day. What you must do: 1. Stop seeking love. Be whole within yourself. Do not look for someone to complete you. Complete yourself first. A tree does not chase the sun, it simply grows toward it. Be like that tree. 2. Observe why someone loves you. Do they love you because they lack something, or because they recognize themselves in you? If their love is based on emptiness, they will leave when they are whole. If it is based on recognition, it will remain even in silence. 3. Let love flow naturally. The river does not beg the ocean to accept its water, it simply flows. The moon does not call to the tide, yet the ocean moves toward it. Love, in its purest form, does not come through pursuit. It arrives through presence. When you stop chasing love, when you no longer need love, it will find you. And when it does, you will know whether it is real or fleeting. And in that knowing, you will never suffer for love again.